Welcome back to Talk of the Town.
And our guest today is Lori Menzies, elder care attorney. Welcome back, and thank you so much again for being here. Nearly 10 million adult children are currently caring for their adult parents. That's kind of a staggering number, and I think it's something that a lot of us, we don't realize how many of us are in this pool, this 10 million.
Unless you start saying stuff and then your friend says, oh my God, my husband.
You too. Yeah. Well, you know what? My mother-in-law lives with us. If I tell you how old she is when she watches the show, she might be upset with me. So I won't let them know, Kay. But she's in her 80s.
Okay.
The upper end of her 80s. And we care for her. She lives with us. And it's confusing and it's stressful for her and for the family. And even when you speak to doctors and therapists and social workers, everyone has something different to say. Everyone has a different approach. And I know you've talked in the past about you see the need for creating a center for care for the aging, and that a lot of the questions that we have, maybe we can have answered there. And when we went to break, we were discussing some of those questions, Lori.
Right.
We were talking about something very interesting with Medicaid.
Sure. Here's the thing. Ever since I became involved in working just in this specific field, trying to make sure that people got the right information, especially because the government programs that assist the elderly, things that may be available to help with a family, care for their loved one, change all the time. And the regulations that guide how we're going to get on a program, be accepted on a program, or how it even works, or who administers it, are changing all the time. Medicaid home care used to be run by a group called CASA, for example, but now it's all going under what's called managed care. New York State is contracting out to insurance companies to provide the home care services. So people who work in the industry are very involved in this, and they will have acronyms like, the HCP and the DNR, all of the letters. And you as the family member start to go, wait a second, you lost me back 5 sentences ago. And actually, depending on where you hit the system, whether you're asking at the doctor's office or whether you're asking when your mom is being discharged from something that happened and you're taking her home and you want to know about some services, you may get different information depending on who you're talking to because of whatever program they heard about.
And and when you talk about being discharged, I know something that we've experienced is they're looking to discharge this individual, and at the same time saying to the family, prove to us that we can discharge her to you. Which is scary.
Well, there has to be a safe and appropriate discharge, or they have to keep her there, because some people don't have somewhere to go. Or to make sure, this is very good that they're doing that, to make sure that there are appropriate services if they were to be going home alone, for example, because now the government has built in structures that are going to penalize them if that person shows right back up again. So
and then knowing what those structures are to help them go home to a safe environment.
But the idea that people would think to go to a lawyer for this type of information is unusual, because they think that lawyers are documents. You go to a lawyer for a will. Nobody understands that there are people that even know this stuff. And so there is that New York Connects number that we at Age Friendly Erie County, there's movements. There's going to be a lot more, I think, touching of the population by agencies and those of us that work in the industry to try to get the information to everyone better, recreating this wheel of an information platform for people. New York State is developing it, but they've been developing it for the last 7 years, and it's still I hate to say that, but it really is the number one question that everyone has is, where do you get good information?
Right.
That isn't some part of the piece, but not the whole piece.
Well, there's a huge bureaucracy to negotiate.
Oh, there
right?
is.
Well,
and so when people do need, for example, care, okay? So right now you guys are working with your mother-in-law, and she's living there and things are probably pretty good. When your mother-in-law may not be able to get up from a chair any longer to be able to move herself to the dining room or to her bedroom, when she needs to have help dressing, you may not be able to be there all the time. It's wonderful that you've opened your house. This is highly unusual. You and I, moving near your parent or allowing them to come in is not the norm any longer. It used to be in our society, but we're not that way. We're extending our lives and not knowing what to do with each other at that point, because we promote independence to the point that we look down on people that need any help, and that shouldn't be.
And feel embarrassed for needing the help and asking for the help.
So here they are, and what you need to know now is what services might be available through a program like Medicaid, because your husband, her son, is not responsible in New York State for paying for her care. Depending on how much money she has, she may qualify for some programs that could bring some aids into the house, for example, from 7 to 9 in the morning. Get her up, get her a shower, get her dressed, and then as long as she has, that is so much kinder and more financially efficient than putting her in a facility, right? The government is happy that you're doing this, and they will help provide.
Money.
So to get her on Medicaid, the thing that probably most people listening to the show wouldn't know is that there is no 5-year look back for Medicaid in the community. If you want to get home care for someone you love, you don't have to do this 5-year look back thing to qualify as far as assets go for Medicaid. But most people don't know that, and most people just continue to try to hold on with their bloody fingernails to do it by themselves, and then somebody ultimately ends up in a nursing home, which is what, by knowledge and planning, we can all avoid. Because when I end up seeing people sitting by themselves on the wall of a nursing home, I just know that this was a default plan. This probably wasn't the way they intended to have their life.
It wasn't a plan. It wasn't a plan. It's what was left because there was no plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And so talking about it isn't easy, but this book should make it easier to start the conversation.
And we need to make sure we point out this book. So Embracing Elderhood, Planning for the Next Stage of Life. So, Lori, you put pen to paper and you created this guide for families. And this is the type of information that a lawyer has to offer.
It's written as a daughter and a lawyer so that people can understand it. And I kind of put in some anecdotes from clients and my own family about how I thought everything was organized and good, but then when it's your actual mom and dad, knowing when to ask to have someone in the house to help, that they can't be doing it themselves anymore. Dad was starting to fall. How do you know when it's time to say they need some help before somebody lands in the hospital having hit their head? And then I think, oh, mom can handle this. She always did. But she's 86 and has a bad back. So dad fell into her when she was trying to take care of him. She fell and broke her pelvis. So then I got 2 old people that need help. And I'm like, well, Lori, you're not doing this very well. Maybe. So then I call the geriatric manager and we start to get home care in. So nobody really does it perfect. What you have to do is with love. And, the thing about long-term care, and you're learning that with your mom living with you, is that it's a long-term thing. And you can't just fix it once and then kind of put it away. It's the last 5 years of life, I think, are a lot like the first 5. There are so many changes. And you wouldn't dare think to leave your child alone. But we leave our elderly alone all day, and they have falls, and then I have people that have not been found because they've fallen for a couple days.
Yeah.
So we need to look out for each other.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be old someday too. Time's going fast.
So Embracing Elderhood, this would be a start. You will get enough information to be able to ask the right questions and know your way around.
And if you go to a lawyer or to someone that doesn't really know all the pieces here, you have to keep looking. There are people that really concentrate in this area, and it's forever changing and very complicated. And you pull one string and then the other ones start to appear, that we've got more that we need to know.
And you've really put yourself out in the community, as a a lawyer with your legal advice, but you're also on the board of the Alzheimer's Association because you're really invested in this. You're really invested.
Just to plug that,
Yeah.
our walks are this month. Next weekend I'll be walking in Dunkirk. The weekend after that is the Buffalo Walk. And then on October 3rd I'll be walking again in Perry, New York, in case anyone wants to join me. But it's a really great cause. I mean, I was blessed not to have Alzheimer's touch my family directly, but many of my clients have this, and it's just, there's no cure.
Yeah.
And we're all getting older, and I'm sure everyone knows somebody that is affected.
Well, I think you're in a really unique position. You know, you are an extraordinarily intelligent woman, Miss Lori, and you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on here in Western New York with elder care, and you're invested in it. You care about it. You've lived through it.
We want to make it so that there's a good place for us by the time we get there. We don't want it to be this scary thing. You want to look forward to your elderhood when you can, like, wear purple and tell everybody to go pound sand, because you know what I mean? You really should
exactly
be
what you
able
mean.
to, like, have a time in your life when you're finally you, and not worry so much about who's going to be there and take care of that, because we can get that straightened out for you.
Well, for more information, get a hold of our friend Lori, and her website is embracingelderhood.com, and Lori is, of course, with Falsgraf, Beinhauer and Menzies on Cayuga Road in Buffalo, 204-1055.